does not exist. My name is Ndideke and I'm testifying from the UK. Last year, September, my son turned 1 year old. Few days after getting the immunization, he started feeling unwell and started breathing in a very funny way. So we took him to the hospital. When we got to the hospital in our city, they looked at him after all the check for several hours. They said he had issue with his heart. So they referred us to hospital in Glasgow. He got there, he got into bed. I kept praying and calling God to help us. After 3 weeks, he got better and he was discharged. When we got back to our city, exactly 3 weeks again, he became unwell. And the same cycle repeated. We got to the hospital and they took us back to Glasgow. When we got to Glasgow, his situation was not as bad as it was the first time. And we were kept in the ward. For about 3 days, they decided they were going to introduce a new medication for him. So they gave him that medication. And his blood pressure reduced drastically. And he became very, very unsettled. Throughout the night of that day, he was sweating like someone that ran marathon. They're now rushing back to ICU. When we got to the ICU, they said his condition was so bad that they have to paralyze him and put him on life support. They did. Meanwhile, one of the specialists told me that they were worried about him because his heart rate became so high. So they are giving him treatment, but the more they treat him, the more the condition gets worse. 8 days after that, they said that he was in a very bad situation. They have to put him in ECMO machine. So this ECMO machine, what it does is it will drain the patient's blood, all his blood out of his body, add oxygen to it and remove carbon dioxide. It happened on 18th of November 2024. When they put him on the ECMO machine, the next day being 19th, the doctors, one of the consultants called me to tell me that the situation they saw my son, that he wasn't going to survive. I said my son will not die. Now the God himself said I will not cast my young. He will not die. So he repeated himself. He just wanted to make sure I understood what he was saying. I said my son will not die. So he left me. I was weak. So I had to call my husband who was in another city and join us in class to come and see what we are hearing. So they came. When they got in the evening, coincidentally, the other consultants came to address me. So this time around, I was sitting just by the side of my son in the ECMO machine. He now pointed at the machine. He said, your son's life is in this machine and we are going to disconnect the machine as soon as possible. I just want to tell you to prepare your mind that once we take him off the machine, he will not survive. It will just be a matter of minutes and he will pass. I said my son's life is not in the machine. His life is in the hand of God. The God himself said I will not cast my young. So I keep saying it, my son will not die. So when we are there, my husband now arrived and he said the same thing. My husband said no, we are not going to bury our child. So the consultant was a bit confused. So he now said he's going to reschedule the meeting the next day so that other specialists who are taking part in the care of my son will tell me what they found. So the doctor advised that I can call my pastor if I wish, that they are going to bring the hospital chaplain in the meeting as well. So prior to the meeting the next day, throughout that day it was a very difficult time. We don't know what to do because there's no place to go to. They have contacted all the centers in the UK that specialize on heart issue, and from all the results they've gotten from the lab, there's no solution according to them. In the night that day, my husband woke me up. He was praying. I was just hearing they must obey, they must obey. I didn't know what he was shouting, but when I woke up, I realized that he has opened one old NSPPD prayer. I don't know it. They just old one, so he was praying with it. So that now occurred to me to not join the next morning prayer. So that morning by 6, I woke up to join. When in the prayer, I heard this prayer point for the first time in my life. Pastor Jerry said, touched the earth and said, oh earth, you shall not receive my body. I jumped up from my bed and I pointed on the floor. I said, oh earth, you will not receive the body of my son. Oh earth, the blood of my son will not spill on you. So I kept praying that prayer. So after the prayer, while I was going back to the hospital, I got outside and I touched the grass and I shouted, oh earth, you will not receive the body of my son. So we went for the meeting. When we got to the meeting, all the consultants that are taking care of my son, they were there, and the hospital chaplain, they repeated everything. One of the consultants said that my son's heart has damaged, lungs collapsed, that is medically impossible for him to recover. So that they called us in that meeting for us to prepare our mind, because they are going to remove him from that machine and let us just bid him farewell, just watch him, give him a cuddle as he dies. I said my son will not die. His heart works, his lungs works, everything concerning my son is working. Now the only thing that is broken is the machine they used to scan him. I said the God that served has said I will not cast my young, and that is what I believe. Doctor, I appreciate your report. Thank you for what you have said. You have said from the beginning, you keep telling me that let's introduce this treatment, things will get better. And at the end of the day, nothing gets better up till now. So this one you're praying that is going to die, that I still reject it, that the God I serve said I will not cast my young, and I would rather believe the God I serve. So they said that they are willing to leave my son for another couple of days in the machine to give us time to come to terms with what they call reality, that is him passing. So that it won't come as a shock to us. I said, no, I don't want him to stay in that machine for any extra minute. I want him to be taken off the machine as soon as possible. If it's possible to take him off now, they should take him off. I'm not buying any time. The only reality I have here is my son is going to cry on that bed and I'll carry him and nurse him. And I said, Ebuka is a living episode. He is a story that is being told by God, and all of us in this hospital, in that meeting, we are just playing our own part in the life of Chukwuebuka. The God that is directing his story, the God that is writing his story, it's up to him to decide what will happen after this meeting is done. And I'm not going to let you, doctor, to decide that Ebuka will die, that I refuse it. Say they should go ahead and take him off the machine, and let's see. One of the consultants says, okay, if you said you're going to put your son in the hand of God, let's do it. Then they now went ahead and called the experts that are in charge of removing the ECMO machine from him. While they were trying to get my son off the machine, I could not stand there. I could not even stand. So it was my husband that was present. I just keep telling God, Father Lord, I have bragged about you. I have bragged of all you can do. I have bragged about your word. Please come and defend yourself. Don't put your name to disrepute. I have told these people that you said I will not cast my young. I have told them that you're an expert in dealing with difficult problems. You're an expert in doing things that are impossible. After bragging about you, please come and defend yourself. When they tried to remove the machine, they followed the protocol to work because they expected him to die within 15 minutes. So when they before they remove it, they just test run it for 15 minutes. By God's grace, my son was still alive. They tried it again the second time, this making it 30 minutes. He still did not die. They removed the machine. To the glory of God, they keep removing treatments. So the more they remove the support they put to on my son, the more they recover. In less than 3 weeks, he was removed from all form of support. I just want to thank God today. My son is strong, healthy, and alive, and we have been discharged from the hospital and back home. What God cannot do, indeed, does not